Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful. When the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun. Good morning. Nobody watching because we are early today. There's one person. Oh, there's three. We already have three of you guys. Thank you for joining us. We have this morning ADP employment change, which is an early piece of news and could be particularly significant given the situation we are in with yields and the big jobs report coming up Friday and everything. So I really tried to shower and eat quickly so that I could be sitting here watching this number, maybe even potentially taking a trade. So if we just come over to the charts and where is my chart? Where daily? There it is. Okay. So if we look at ES yesterday, it was kind of a little bit of a meh end to the month. I think there probably was some significant buying that got blunted by the rebalancing yesterday. So I'd say that they actually wasn't so bad. Over here in the yields, though, those yields came back down quite a bit. And the big thing was at first they were rising because some of the economic data that we got wasn't very good. The housing numbers and the consumer confidence numbers. But then the Europeans came out and started talking about tapering their asset purchases, and that pushed things down to the low of the day. And now you can see here overnight they've pushed down a little bit further. Okay, so that's the critical situation that we are in at the moment. Oil just kind of going sideways. Gold and silver doing okay, but still sideways over the past few days. Copper taking a little bit of a hit this morning because China is releasing more of their reserves today. That should be okay. And that puts us where we are now. So we got about 4 minutes. And yes, then we have, after this news, at the bottom of the hour, the Gary Norton video will drop. So I'm going to try doing, I set it as a premiere. I don't know how that works. I don't know how any of that works, but I wanted to set it as a premiere because I figured that you guys would want to talk about it during the stream. So we'll do that. Anyways, okay, so I need to come over here and make sure that financial juice is running. And I also need to turn on the text to speech and blow my nose. Okay, so SEC's Gensler tells European regulators U.S. Securities and Exchange Chairman Gary Gensler reached out, blah, blah, blah. Oh, come on. What is the story? I'm going to have to read it later, I guess. Apparently, Gensler was talking to European regulators about crypto. Turn that on. All right, we're ready. So the number, again, we are looking for is 613. 613. And I'm a little worried about slippage. So if I take any orders here, I'm going to use limits. Okay, we got about 10 seconds here. 15 seconds. I actually see yields decreasing going into it. Ooh, it's bad, very bad. I'm not going to touch it. Okay, so the number was 374K versus an expected 613. That's gonna, you know what? I don't want to, I'm a little weary about trading my live account on that one. So I'm just going to come in here and try and grab a tick or two in the ZN. Oof. That one didn't go so well. Is that going to retrace completely, huh? Well, very interesting. I have a little bit of a bagel here, so I'm going to eat this and watch this and see what happens, because the liquidity after this move is not quite what I expected. So just watching the dollar there. Dollar did not like that. Yeah, I started early because I wanted to see that ADP number. Did you do anything off of it? No, I saw it come out at half of what it was, and I was like, I don't think I want to touch that. I'm glad that I didn't, right? Because I would have ended up buying a top there. But we could maybe turn around and go short somewhere around here now. I'm a little nervous about it now. I think I'm just kind of being a little what is the word? I don't know. Overly, because it wasn't like what I expected. It's not like what I wanted to happen. I'm kind of like, fine. The yields can go down. I don't care. Uzi's still in breakfast mode too. Yeah, I get you. Well, I'm wondering if it was. I really did not like the way that the liquidity behaved after that. Like, we should just be going up. And they came back way too far. Okay, well, that just confuses me more because the open there, they sold. Let's see here. The roofers are back. They're doing the shingles. The guys show up just before sunrise. I think sunrise is their starting time. They don't believe in clocks. I wonder, like, have you ever thought, how might you think differently and how would you be different if you lived in a culture that didn't really keep track of time? The sunrise, start work, sunrise, stop work, dark or sleep. Yeah. All their nailing reminds me I need a framing gun. Wait, who are you planning on framing, Uzi? What would... There's coming down there. Oh, man. I don't know, man. So here's the thing. ADP can give us false signals, That's happened before, right? Where the ADP was really bad and then the real jobs report was really good and vice versa. So I'm not 100% sure how to factor it in here. It's definitely not a good sign. Did they move enough compared to like what the news was? Well, like when I compare it to what they were moving off of yesterday, I feel like they didn't move enough, yeah? There's finishing guns for trims, roofing guns for shingles, and are they really like they're separate guns? I thought that you would just use the same kind of gun and you just put different nails in or a different attachment in it. Why you selling here, Zian? What you doing? Yeah, they hold different size. I would assume, too, that a framing gun would have to have a very different power, huh? Okay, so let's read the report. Our data, which represents all workers on a company's payroll, has highlighted a downshift in the labor market recovery. We have seen a decline in new hires following significant job growth from the first half of the year, said Neela Richardson, chief economist at ADP. Despite the slowdown, job gains are approaching 4 million this year, yet still 7 million jobs short of pre-COVID-19 levels. Service providers continue to lead growth, although Delta variant creates uncertainty for this sector. Job gains across company sizes grew in lockstep, with small businesses trailing a bit more than usual. Mark Zandi, chief economist of Moody Analytics, said the Delta variant of COVID-19 appears to have dented the job market recovery. Job growth remains strong, but well off the pace of recent months. Job growth remains inextricably tied to the path of the pandemic. So, hey, about that 27. Yeah. Well, I really think what's going on when I look at this, Uzi, well, yesterday there was a lot of size, right? That might have been because it was the end of the month, right? That maybe that was a fund rebalancing, and they came in and they had to do their thing, right? But I don't actually see here in the treasury markets people going, oh crap, and coming over and moving into the treasuries. You know, what I see instead is the market makers and the day traders like ourselves coming in and trying to find a reasonable price for treasuries. So nobody else wants to touch them. So from that perspective, I think that your targets, which I think are a good measure of how far the market will move based on the base players, are probably likely to be very effective. I got to get some credit on nailing the high to the tick. It was pretty good that it was for the tick. And you know what? I when I think about it, like John would always have those sorts of things. I can't tell you how many times John would call a number like that and they would go to it like almost to the tick, or maybe just one tick short of it. So I can't say that there's not like any. I can't say that there's not prices that the market doesn't like do stuff on. I have an issue with trying to trade off of those. You know what I mean? Like I don't think there's any way that I could have come in and tried to short the ZB at 27 yesterday, right? I don't always, but when they do, their word, yeah. But kind of what I'm getting at when you talk about that is like, I think that what you're doing, or you're getting a level that seems significant, but it's kind of like you're getting it as a derivative of what's actually going on. You know what I mean? Like what's actually going on is there's a certain number of orders laying in wait out there that can come out if there's a trend, and there's a certain amount of resistance from the liquidity, and that's how far you're going to get. And I would rather be trying to calculate it from that rather than from the volume profile. Although the volume profile is probably kind of getting you that in a roundabout way. I didn't expect it to be worth $1,000 on a contract. Well, that move that you caught yesterday was, by the way, you were so lucky. Because you got that, you got out, and then after that, they just cratered, man. Oh, that took me so by surprise. Later in the day, were you watching when that down move happened? Oh, that caught me so by surprise, because it's like, okay, they're back down at the bottom of the range. They're ranging here, though. I don't know. And then it's just like, it's like, oh, well, that was kind of what I was looking for, hoping for. I guess it's too late now. Oh man, because it was European news, and when the news squawk was coming over, like I heard it on the news squawk, but it just like it didn't register in my brain, like that's what was going on. It went sad panda real quick, yeah. Well, funnily, I bailed on the 27 target. I lost faith in it, but it hit anyways, and then it cratered. Yeah. Well, you took your profits a little bit earlier. It's probably, you know what? Like sometimes you have to wonder, like, is the extra tick worth the emotional, worth the stress of having to sit in it for an hour or however long it's going to be. I mean, that's kind of what I'm sitting here thinking is like, I'm really weirded out by the fact that the open is so far as the regular session high and that they pushed back down to 10. I'm a little weirded out by that. The S&P just wants to keep going. It hasn't really moved very far, has it? Yeah, it's part of the plan. The part of the plan that Uzi has shared with us is that he looks at value area highs and lows from previous days. So that kind of makes sense where I'm saying, like, if you, so the way that you think about it is like auction theory is kind of the way that is kind of the underlying theory behind that sort of thing, right? So say, okay, this point of control, that is the area where the buyers and sellers agree. And then buyers will decide to auction it up until there aren't any more people to buy. And then if they don't come to a new value, they'll come back to the value area. And then the sellers will try and they'll go until the sellers got it, right? And then you get that. Oh, yeah, we got to go and do the video. Shall we? Oh, it doesn't show up when I come here on my page. Premiering now. There we go. 2, 1. Oh, wait. Okay. I've never done the premiere thing before, so you haven't received the notification yet. But if you go to my channel, you should be able to see the video. I need to change my page here, by the way. Cool. I'm really excited to show it to you. So I'm just here the weekend before the video is going to go out, and I was thinking maybe I could pare the video down or split it up into multiple videos, but Gary just says so many great things in this video. I really think you're going to want to watch the whole thing. So just to warn you, it is 2.5 hours long. I'll have chapters down at the bottom so that you can see what the different parts are, and the stuff about his course, which is what I think most of you are going to be primarily interested in, is at the beginning, but he says a lot of great information just about trading in general. So I think you guys are really going to like it. Enjoy. All right, there we go. So welcome and thank you very, very much for doing this. So for those of you that don't know Gary, he is probably, when you're talking about people that have made themselves available in the retail space, I don't think that there is anybody more qualified to talk about things like market making than Gary. I mean, obviously there's lots of great traders out there, but Gary is one of the few that has actually come and shared information with us, and I think that his credentials are just unparalleled. And he's been putting together an education course, and you know, I am just like a guy with a YouTube channel. Nothing really special, but I've always been a really big fan of Gary's stuff, and people talk about it on my live stream a lot, and it's kind of, there's a lot of crossover because a lot of the people that I'm trading with are doing things similar to what Gary teaches. So when I heard that he was putting together a website, an education course, I was really, really interested and asked if I could talk to him about it, and here we are. So thank you very, very much for doing this.
No worries, Seth. My pleasure. Nice to be
We
on.
need to get you a collared
Yes.
shirt with your logo
So
over the
I
pocket.
want to know, what was it? I know that you had a course before that was available through Jigsaw. What kind of prompted you to expand and create a new course and go at your own and everything?
Yeah, so there are some sort of issues and reasons why I needed to um, move the existing course away and to put it under my own compliance regime. So when it was apparent that had to happen, I really took it as an opportunity to really have a look at
I should look
what
at
was being
other
offered, have a look at the feedback
merchandise options, see
that
if they
had
have
come in
polo
about
shirts.
the way that course had been presented, and then to think more about, okay, on this new system and on under my own compliance regime, but also using the learning management system that we're using. It just enabled me to do a lot more. And around the same time, I was also talking to some people, some ex-floor traders and people in the industry. Um, and I just started to put this picture together that I can do so much more now, and particularly with this learning management system. Um, that I could build something that was, as somebody sort of said to me, it's kind of like a legacy project. You can build something now and you can put all the things you've been thinking about doing for maybe a decade and all the things that you haven't done, um, to put that out there now. And particularly ex-floor traders, talking to them and, knowing that, that what they've been through and the feeling that these skills are being lost. This is an opportunity now, as I say, like a legacy project, as someone called it, to put these ideas out so that the ideas are not lost because they're still very relevant. It's just that there's not many of us left that have these skills. Um, and that's why, the new site is far more comprehensive and really, I'm really pleased with what we've done. And it's also about the pathway that we took. It's not just about the course itself. It's the pathway, because when I went to now have a deeper look at, okay, well, what separated,
Turn this
what
down
happened
for a
in
little
my
bit.
trading career? What are the steps? What are the
Phone profile
processes
is
that I
useful for
went through
finding where the
that
business is
other
done, trying to
floor
determine
traders
what
or
type
bank
of business
traders
is
that I
being
actually
done and
started
to
my
make a
trading
prediction or
career
movement on from
for.
there.
And
Well, I don't
what
know
I'm
if it
trying to
makes
do
a
is
prediction,
replicate
but
that
it
pathway as
seems to
well.
be
And there's
good
other
at telling
steps
us the
in that path
magnitude,
than just the
right?
courses itself. So I'm replicating that on the new website too.
Okay, so for those people that are familiar with the education
Yeah, look at
materials
that.
that you've put out in the past, what are
The move is
some of the
definitely that yields are going to go
pieces of
down. Like we're
information
probably going to
that
see
they're going to be
30
able to
today.
find there that's different?
So obviously the main courses themselves are along the same lines as, for example, the
Yeah,
bank
I make
course
the
or the
prediction, not
Jigsaw.
the
It's
profile.
just
I
that
got you.
now I've been able to expand them further and put them more graphically. And I should add that if any of your viewers, bought the manual on Jigsaw, I will give them free access to the equivalent course on the new site. So, they're not going to lose out. I'm going to, those people, they just have to, show me that they're proof of purchase, and that's fine. I've said to anybody that's bought the manual, you'll get access to the new course. So on the learning management system, I'm able to make it a lot more graphical rather than, just documents. It's a lot more graphical. We've put designers in, and there's also a version of it with, there's over 40 narrated videos. So that's never happened before online, where there's, dozens of videos. So if I'm talking about a concept, that, the major concepts, some of them might have 4, 5, 6 videos that back that up so people can see what that might look like. Which is something that people have always asked about, and I understand that, but before there was never really a way of putting that out there that would protect the content. But on the learning management system that we're using, there's a way of protecting that content, okay? So that it can't just be replicated. People just can't just sort of share the screen and put it on YouTube because their email address comes up all across the screen. So, it's good in that way, and that's protecting this is important. And I'm sure people, if you buy the course, you don't want it to put it out there. So that's one thing, but the actual pathway itself is something that got me thinking, because if I look at floor traders and the pathway we took on the floor, but also in banks, one aspect of what we did was to be tested. So, for example, when I went down to the floor to become an options market maker, I'd already been a market maker
Pretend
for
says
a
I
bank
don't think
for
profiles
2.5
have the
years.
prediction value. I just think to myself,
So I
I do
think
the prediction
I
here,
was pretty
bud.
good at what I did, and I
And
think I knew markets. I knew how to make prices. I knew how to, to be a professional operator in amongst, other investment banks. But when I went down to the floor, the thing about
so Gary talks about it later in like late in the video. Like what are the assumptions inside of this that are really problematic? Because when I start to really dive into it, it's really two things that he has a problem with. And one is that because something tended to happen in the past, that it will tend to happen in the future. And then the other thing that he has an issue with is that because a price had significance in the past, that it's going to have significance now. And I think that that's a really good way to think of it. Is like a lot of people will say, well, the strategy that you should use is when we get to the previous day's value area high, that you want to fade it or something like that. And that's a dumb strategy, in my opinion, right? And Uzi doesn't trade it that way. But what Uzi does do is he says, if I'm in a position and we get up to the previous day's value area high and I got a good profit, that is kind of like my base move. So I'm going to take profits unless I have a reason to think that there's a lot more orders coming through, right? Like this is a trend day, or the piece of news that we had was really significant, or that there's some other reason to tell me that the most accurate price or fair price based on the change in conditions is way over here, right? But you can look at that number and you could say, well, that's how far they can tend to move, right? Upper limit 63.16 for daily and RTH sessions. First 5 minutes range is relatively wide, so swings could be pretty decent today. There's a nice gap in yesterday's profile. Yeah. Well, yeah. So let me try and guess where I think we would be going. So you were saying 163.13. Yep. And I also think the ADP number, we should try and keep the ADP number in context, right? Because we did not move as much on that ADP, at least not initially, as far as we moved on the pieces, the housing and consumer sentiment numbers yesterday, right? And then definitely not as much as when the Europeans talked about tapering back PEPP. So. There's nothing wrong with fading levels. I'm just much pickier in that scenario. Well, this is what I'm saying, is that once you get to that point, you're trying to say, you're making a technical analysis prediction, right? You're saying, because it's the value area high, it's likely to not hold that, and so I should reverse there. It's a faulty assumption. It just means, but if you look at it like this is the range that they're going to tend to be able to get to just with the market makers moving and everything. And I don't have more people than them coming into the market right now, then probably that's as far as it can go. Yeah.
Blue Button course is just a series of videos where I really talk about how markets work, how futures markets work, talk about the platforms, give the basics.
So this is the key part from Gary, like the thing that I think people will be the most interested in.
What's your role in the markets? Let's think about what we have. Let's think about our strengths and our weaknesses, which is what happened when I went into a pit. I had a trader looking over me, experienced guy, who would say to me, right, Gary, the banks are coming into the pit. We can't
Gary's
play that
new
game.
course
This
is going to be tiered.
We're here.
The first tier is free.
And someone to guide me. So the Blue Button
He's kind of describing what is at
an
each tier.
Course. If people think that they don't need it, they don't have to take it. There's no exam at that one, but it's really about me trying to tell people, explain what their role is, mentor them in those sorts of early years before they the idea is that you take this before you start trading. you start to understand what your processes
By the way,
are.
I need to come in.
So
I need to change
that's what I mean about
this.
recreating this pathway. I thought a lot more about what was the pathway we took, not just the skills themselves. And all this is about slowing people down as well, about, don't just buy a course and trade. It's go through the processes first. And then on the course, we have what we call the silver jacket, the silver badge, sorry, and the red jacket courses, which are the same course, essentially the market making scalping style, but one has video content and one doesn't. Both of them also have exams at the end.
So,
So the silver.
So on the video content, because you've mentioned that once already, are we talking about like watching live market data and commenting on it, or?
Yeah. So we're watching trades, and there's some good trades and some bad trades. We're watching, some of these videos are 4 or 5 minutes. Some of them are 20 minutes. If perhaps we're watching.
So I think that was the main thing that I want to hear. I'm going to leave this on in the background. I love that it's already done the closed captioning for me. Very, very good. So by the way, if you guys have some time today and you end up watching the whole thing after the stream, keep track. If you could keep track of the timestamps for me, and like go into the comments and leave timestamps for what different topics. Because I wasn't able to go through and create chapters for it. And it's a 2.5 hour video, right? So that would really help me out. Because what we'll do is then I can put those timestamps in the description, and it will make these little blocks on the timeline so you can see where the different subjects start. So because the video took so long to process and everything, I didn't have the time to go through and do that yet. Well, I missed my chance over here. This freaking phone. It's like it's a Samsung S9 and I don't have a case on it, and it's so slippery in my pocket and it just falls out of the pocket. I freaking hate that. Yeah, I think that these treasuries probably have a lot more to go today. The thing is I don't know if the ADP is like the end of the world, or it doesn't mean that the jobs report on Friday is going to be bad for sure, but it's certainly not a good sign, and it was very, very bad number. It was half of the expectation. So another thing on Gary's course that I want to just highlight for you guys there was that he has tests for each section too. So I think it's going to be interesting. He's going to have a free section. I wonder if we can go in there and try it and try and collect the course and see how well we know it. the free course. But that's why I was saying probably everybody is going to do it. Like, I see no reason why everybody that trades futures wouldn't go and take his beginner course, his free beginner course. Actually, let's see. Can I register? I just use Google. Da, 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 da. Oh, is there somebody? Hold on. Oh, it's Randy. Hey, Randy. There are many who have to leave the cinema when the movie ends and the bear market starts. Well, it kind of leads to some interesting questions, though, doesn't it? And the blue button course is $295. I think so. Did I see? Purchase. $295. Yep. So, and then these other courses, the silver and red jacket, and the difference between the silver and the red is that the red has a video, and I think that the silver is like 1,000. I think that the silver is 1,000. Let's see here. Yep, silver is $12.95. And then the video one is like almost $3. $27. Yeah. The accent is worth $350 at least. Why are you giving this guy free advertising? Well, so the reason, so the history behind all of this is this. I've been following Gary for a long time, and he had a book out called An End to the Bull, and it was a very much the beginning basis for my own trading. This is where I made a lot of major realizations and so forth. And so I've always just been a really avid follower for him. So a couple of years ago, he came out and, he was like, well, on occasion, I will mentor people and stuff, but it was very expensive. Okay. So I had talked to him about it, but then when I found out how much it was, I was like, well, I can't really do that right now. But I had spoken to him quite a bit about it, and I had also met people that had done it. So I just ended up knowing a lot about his course because of that. And so when there was discussion about it, particularly on Futures.io, I would be in that thread and I provided the information on it in the past. And so when his Jigsaw course came out, there was a lot, like everybody here on the channel was saying, hey, he released his course, he made a course on Jigsaw and it's $1,000 and all of this sort of stuff. Right. And then people shared some information with me about it enough so that, if people were interested in the course, I could, judge based on their skill level and what they're trying to do and everything, if it would be worth it to them. Right. So because of that, I just kind of became a good resource for people about if they're trying to decide if they want to take this course or not. Right. So when he went off on his own and made his own course, I was like, well, let's talk to him and see if we can get any information that people will want, so that it'd be useful to my stream, because I know that people are going to ask me about it. And Gary said, well, why don't we just do an interview? So we did the interview, and we interviewed for 2.5 hours. This video is 2.5 hours. And it's a really good interview. So this first little bit, I think like the first 30-40 minutes of it are mainly him describing the course and stuff, but the rest of it is just talking about the markets. Okay, what has you convinced he is a floor trader? Okay, so Gary Norton was a floor trader on the Lifey which is the Australian exchange. And he has done market making since he was 19 for institutions, and quite successfully so as well. So in terms of people that understand like markets at the market making level, that have come forward and shared information with retail traders, Gary is the only one. Frankly, the guys at the banks and stuff, they don't really understand this stuff much anymore because like it's all done by robots now. Okay. But his credentials in terms of like he is definitely traded on the floor for 3 or 4 different institutions, and he's been very successful. He managed the books for like all the Japanese markets during the big Japanese market crash. Like this guy just has some crazy experience. Now, does that mean that the course is right for you, or it's a good? I mean, I haven't taken the course, so don't read the interview as like a full endorsement of the course, because I haven't taken the whole thing. But I do believe that Gary is an honest guy, and that he has some valuable information to share with you. And whether or not you purchase his course, I think is going to come down largely to if you're able to pay for it. I mean, because $3,000 is a lot, right? But if you're a rich guy, I know a couple of these guys that they just dump money on all sorts of things, right? If I was going to dump $3,000 on an education course, I would put Gary's course at the top of the list. Also depends on one's trading style. That's very true, because you got to realize that he's talking about scalping. He is like not even scalping, like market making, like making one tick maybe based off of a small price inefficiency, like super tiny thing, right? Now, so now it's, how far into it is it? Yeah, about 30 minutes into it, and we start talking about some other things. So he really shares some good stuff for you guys in there. So it's a good. I haven't had that much fun in a long time talking to him. If you want to buy a course, buy the Jigsaw course. Well, so yeah, and again, he had a course on Jigsaw, but then he decided to go it on his own for reasons he was saying that there's, kind of like, because he runs a fund and everything, it makes a lot more sense for him to manage it all himself. And so he had a course on Jigsaw that's not on there anymore, and he's made this new thing. So for the Jigsaw courses, when you buy Jigsaw, you get some degree of education, and you should definitely go through those, because that is definitely good information. There's also a pretty good amount of free stuff on just on Jigsaw's YouTube. So there's lots of good resources. Oh, you want to understand his order flow? Yeah. Well, I don't think that's all you want to understand. I must say, from what I have seen from Gary's, okay, look at No BS. Yeah, I really like No BS day trading too. Here's the thing. When you look at like the education materials that Jigsaw trading has, and the education materials that No BS trading has, and then his Axia is the kind of the other major educator. I don't know as much about Axia, but some guys have shown me a bit of their course, like outlines of their course. And then the Gary Norden course, they definitely have different emphases and are teaching different things And I would say that all of them can help to some extent. I don't think that any of these courses are going to teach you something that it's like, you just take this course and then you're going to be a successful trader. Like, it's still going to be crazy hard. It's still going to be crazy hard. Yeah, those are better than 99% of the educational stuff. I agree with that. Oh, Gary is tweeting that, so I will retweet. Yeah, if you guys just want to watch the interview, don't shy away from just going and watching the video, or like keep both windows open and mute me. That's totally fine.
Russia cut gasoline exports to nearly zero to support the domestic market. This is according to Russia's Novak. Says that as well that Russia is strictly compliant.
You say it's silly.
Says now it is important to keep the global oil market balanced.
Well, like those are the education courses that I've seen out there that seem to be legitimate. Whether or not they are worth the price of them depends on you, right? This is the issue with. Oh, hold on, sorry. The education is a difficult thing because it's really difficult to value information like that. You know what I mean? It's impossible, and I think that it would be kind of pompous of myself to come in and say that I know what the education should or should not be worth. You know? It's just, no, I understand, Greg, but that's where I was kind of going with it. So like for Gary's course, you know, I know that Gary has some good information. Should you spend $3,000 for his red badge course? Depends on you. I would say though that for me, I went and I made a bunch of videos on TikTok, and that's not me like giving away all of my edge and stuff, but that is me giving away the empirical facts about how the market and liquidity work. And you should be able to work from there and do your own empirical research and find edges from that point. So I do believe it is possible to not buy an education course and figure it out on your own. Right? Axia have this million deep pockets and clip the F. I really, really would like to go through Axia's news course, because I think I have a pretty good system for trading news, but it seems to me that they have some nuance about how they plan around these sorts of things that would be beneficial. Would love to try them. I mean, honestly, any okay, I'll say this. Any education course that's out there and they would like me to review it, if they gave me access to the course, I would take the course and review it for the channel, as long as they're reputable sources. Like I would love to talk to the Axia guys. I really was. Brannigan in particular, I disagree with Brannigan. Probably thinks I hate him because I've disagreed with him on a couple of tweets, but I really like that guy. And I think he's a really good trader. So, I would love to talk to them. And, I'm going to have to, Jigsaw is going to have some courses coming up. So I would like to know more about those, just so that it can be useful for the channel. Fat Cat. That's the one, you have mentioned that a bunch of times, but that's the one where like their channel isn't really active anymore, right? that book is the one. The book that you gave me, or no, it wasn't AO that gave it to me. Man, the Markets Under the Microscope book by Boshad. That's like, I probably shouldn't share that with you guys. It's a really amazing book. Fat Cat's trading the inside bids and offers. Well, this is kind of what I do. You just ordered the book? No, not if Fat Cat has a book. It's this book. Trades, Quotes, and Prices. Financial Markets Under the Microscope by Jean-Philippe Beauchamp. And I'm just warning you, this book, I don't know if you can see. It is heavy math. Like this is all statistical models. This is all statistical models related to market making. Basically, this book is like if you were working for a big bank, maybe it's like a brand new big bank, and they say, we need to write our own market making algorithm to assist our traders. And this is the book that you would buy. And that's basically what it is. It's all of the base mathematical models that you would need to build a market making algorithm. And but it's not only that. I don't think that that's really the intention of it. The what is really the intention of it is to give you an overview of the available information. By the way, I should cancel this. There's no way that's going to touch. It's giving you an overview of what we know about market microstructure. Basically, it's like it's like 30 years of research condensed down into one book. So it's a really good book. And a lot of these things that I'm telling you guys about how the market truly functions, it comes from that book. That's why I'm like, maybe I shouldn't share it with everybody, but at the same time, the thing that just frustrates me is the retail traders insist on believing things that are just empirically not true. And I don't know what to do about it. It bothers me so much. It probably shouldn't, because it should be just like, oh, okay, well, fine. You can continue to lose money and I'll continue to get better at trading. It just doesn't make sense. Why do people want to believe these things? It's so much so that I get people on Reddit will lie to me. I can very much so. There's this guy yesterday, and he was saying, oh yeah, I'm having a lot of success with trading. I am scalping options, and my losers are $40, my winners are $80. And in order for it to work, the spread needs to be 40 cents. Okay. So what he's saying is the spread is basically $40. He's trading one contract. Spread is basically $40. Stop is equal to the spread. Target is 2 times the spread. And he says that he's winning 67% of the time. Right? Bullshit. bullshit. First of all, there is no way under those risk reward parameters that you are going to get a win rate that high. It's practically impossible. But number two, your largest winner is not $40. No way. Not in options, man. The liquidity is going to pull and you're going to get creamed, right? There's no way that is just not a workable strategy. Maybe he's doing it on sim, and so he doesn't have to deal with I don't know. There's no way that he's actually trading that way. But that's his argument in favor of, oh, well, but these technicals, they do tend to work. Like if I draw this line, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. No, you're exaggerating or even outright lying about your performance to try and justify the way that you trade. Sim mental trading too easy. Yeah, maybe he was just, maybe it's all in his head, but there's no way that he's actually trading it, or he would know that when when you catch slippage, you lose a lot more than just one, the spread. Man. So like, why are people so attached to these ideas that price is truth and that it provides clues as to what is going to happen in the future? Why do we insist? So every time that you do that and you're going and you're searching, you're talking to somebody, right, to figure out how their technical analysis system works. So you went and you tried a technical analysis system. It didn't work. So you go and you find somebody else. They say, oh, my technical analysis system is working. And so you try their tech. You know what you're doing? You're trying to find, you're paying for lunch, right? You're familiar with the whole idea of there is no free lunch. You've watched The Wolf of Wall Street. And he says, hey, let's go out to lunch so that I can get some information out of you. And then the guy that he takes to lunch doesn't tell him jack squat, probably because he doesn't actually know jack squat. He was basically scamming people, right? And then he ends up paying for the lunch, right? Every time you go and that's what you're doing. You're paying for somebody else's lunch. How many times you're going to go and pay for somebody else's lunch to try a technical analysis system that doesn't work before you sit down and say there's something fundamentally wrong with all of these strategies? And I think I believe that the empirical evidence points to that the underlying assumption behind all of these strategies that is faulty is the assumption that price is truth. Price is not truth. Price is just a number and it can change and it doesn't mean much of anything. There's very little information ingrained in the current price or in the history of price that will tell you anything about what is likely to happen in the future. There is information out there, but there's no way that you can correlate it out from the noise using only price. That's my opinion on it, right? So how do you get out of that? How do you get out of that cycle? Well, stop taking people out to lunch, start making your own lunch at home, and do the work. The work meaning empirical research to discover how the market actually behaves. That doesn't mean just go and do another technical analysis model and see if it works. It means like actually look at the data that comes out. Look at something like how often do orders come in? If I have an order, how long is it until the next order? And what is the distribution of that? And then you're going to go in and you're going to look at it and you're going to go, oh, well, orders tend to cluster. Like they all tend to come in all at once. They follow each other. It clusters. And then you can actually build scientific models that explain how the clustering kind of behaves. And that's the sort of thing that they talk about in that book, right? That's the actual empirical research that you've got to do that people don't want to do. or I guess they don't know anything else. I think that might be part of the problem. Is that it's like you have a chart in front of you with prices. It's like, what else can you use? Well, I think most retail traders don't understand that there's this whole world of order flow underneath of it that, you know, you can do all sorts of research on. Price is not truth, but Shrek is truth. Shrek is love. I wish they would pay for my lunch. Yeah. There was this South African hedge fund that traded 1 minute time frames, and their win ratio was less than 15%, but they were hugely successful. With a win ratio that small, you'd have to wonder though if they don't just get lucky, you know. Okay, so there was, oh my, what? So did you see that somebody sold a ton there at 17 and the bid at 17 held and then they ticked it up? You did a good work with the interview with Gary. Thank you. It is such a good video, I think. It's a little slow at first. We kind of had to like get into it and get comfortable. What you said about clusters, orders tend to cluster. You'll have a period where like there's no orders, and then all of a sudden a whole slew of orders will come in all at once. Where is it? It's on the channel. Actually, here, let me get you guys like the real link here. Copy. It's still premiering, so you can. There's a link right there in chat. You want 13? We were looking for 13, weren't we? I'm actually surprised that they're already there. I actually think in this instance, like, probably 16. Probably 16 and probably... maybe even 163.24. So much for my shitty... Well, it was a good initial target, right? Here's the thing. Well, here's the thing that I'm thinking, at least right now. So look at the E-mini. They look sad. Maybe this turns into free money forever, buy all of the things, but there's a certain point at which you say, you know, if the economy is really that weak, you know, if the economy is really that weak, like this, there has to be a limit to how far you can go on the stock market, right? So the S&P 500 falling here since that news come out is like the macro appropriate response, and that really helps us in the treasuries. I mean, aside from nailing how the morning would play out, I suck. You're a pretty good trader. From what I've seen, Yuzi is maybe the best trader here. Well, that's where I come down on this other thing that, you know what, sometimes we come across something and we don't really totally understand it, you know? So you know, I can come to certain things that I'm pretty confident on based on the empirical evidence. Orders move prices. There's too much noise for you to really gain a whole lot from the price movements themselves. Well, so how do we explain that with how Uzi does it? Well, I think I have an okay explanation. You're great trader and you have a new reef, so there's that. He's also our most dedicated viewer, so and I really someday Uzi we will meet, and that will be a great day. They have to have like a trader conference or something, or maybe I'll just be visiting Florida. I don't know. My little brother, I think, is going to move to Florida because his girlfriend is there, and I don't think he wants his girlfriend to leave her family. So Came back and there's a bunch of graphics. Oh yeah, sorry, I still have the chart up. I was just pointing out that the S&P 500 has been falling pretty hard. Look, there's oh wow, the ZB already there. I 2024 is in ZB is going to be my next benchmark. You think they can make it to 24? Like here's the thing. These treasuries, they moved, didn't they? They moved, and the E-mini hasn't even opened yet. So Steve got that Bitcoin manipulation, bro. Oh, by the way, so another thing, what do you guys think of the thumbnail? Did you notice the thumbnail? So remember that guy came in yesterday and he's like, "Oh, I can do thumbnails for you," and I'm like, "Oh, okay, we'll see." So I had him make 2 thumbnails for me. I had him make this one for the Earn to Trade Gauntlet Challenge because I didn't feel like the thumbnail for that one was very good. And I had him make one for the Gary Norton interview. And I think it's a lot more interesting than the thumbnails that I make. Who's to say if they'll do well? This one will be the big one. We'll see if it increases the click rate on this, but I don't know. Maybe I keep doing that. You know what was the funny thing though? So I was like, make one for Gary, and I just I saw it and I was like, okay, that looks good. But thinking about it now, it's like, yeah, but it has a chart, and Gary doesn't really use charts. I think it is your death stare in the. He gave me. There was a couple of choices. You want to see the choices? We'll go back and find the choices. We could switch it if we want. Good job taking the shorties. I think today is a day where we should make money. Yeah, I think that I don't see anything in today's action that would be really problematic for those of you that I really understand your strategies. I think there was actually 3 of them. Yep, there was. There was that one. And I kind of felt like with that one, I didn't like that I had like an angry face in it. And then there was this one. And then there was this one. So I decided to go with that one. And they were $7 per video. So for 2 videos, so I paid him $15. We'll see. I don't know if it's worth it, but we'll see if it changes the video. You say they're good? I mean, it's definitely more interesting thumbnail than what I make, isn't it? It's a lot better than what I make. I was a little bit taken back and surprised at how much better it was, because I thought it was going to be like, well, probably could be a little bit better, but YouTube Finance says no, it's a much needed upgrade. Yeah, I we'll see if we can quantify the effect, but I looked at that and I was like, that could change the click-through rate. That could do it. In fact, I wonder if I can see it. Reach, impressions, click-through rate. No change yet. Actually, the click-through rate on it is not bad. That video should be getting more clicks, more views, rather. Okay, so they're reverting a little bit before the E-mini opens. Yeah, try it for 2 weeks. So you're right. We need to give a lot more time. Good deal. So, do you think, you want to do a poll? How should we do this? Will first hour be positive or negative? Buy, sell. Okay, I have the poll up. Will the first hour of the S&P 500 index futures be a buy or a sell? What do you think? What do you think about Michael Burry and Cathie Wood's feud? I don't think much about it, to be honest. So here's the thing. Cathie Woods is a charlatan, in my opinion. I'm just gonna lay it out, man. I mean, sure, they can say she manages a fund and she's made more money. That's fine. She's a charlatan. She got lucky. She's getting all of this interest that she doesn't deserve. She's not really a good asset manager. And at some point, that fund is going to implode. In a bear market, that fund is not going to survive. They are not following very good risk management. They are not. They are doing things that are just very irresponsible. They won't be able to get out of their trades. It's just really awful. They don't know what they're doing. Okay. Michael Burry, I think, has a much better idea of what he's doing. But he's autistic, and I've found that autistic people will have a tendency to get stuck on something. There will be this one particular thing that they're just really stuck on, and they can't see past it, right? So, like for Greta Thunberg, it's this idea that the world is going to end due to global warming. So she is like making proclamations and stuff that are not supported by the science about how, we're all going to be dead or something, which isn't likely. And with Michael Burry, it's kind of the same thing, but in that, like, he sees doom in the with interest rates and all this sort of thing. So when he tends to have this bearish slant that like ends up not happening, right? Just because he did well during the housing crisis doesn't necessarily mean that all of his predictions are going to be true. What you're more likely to see with a guy like Michael Burry is he's always going to see risks around, and most of the time they end up not being all that big of a deal. But then the one time that it is actually a big deal, he'll be all over it, right? So I think that some of the things that he's saying about like hyperinflation coming and everything, it hasn't been a very effective trade so far. I can only say that. So you got these two people and they're arguing with each other. Like, okay, here's the thing. Again, why are you going to go and pay for other people's lunch? Listen, Michael Burry, Cathie Woods, they can pay for lunch. They go, and I'm sure that they eat at very nice places every day. They don't need you to pay for their lunch, right? Like, don't follow people. Do your own analysis. Like, learn the things that they know and how to analyze the markets, and do your own analysis. And don't really matter what other people say. Like, it's interesting to read what other people say, but then you just go, oh, okay, here's what's right and wrong with their analysis based off of what I know. Okay, so the E-mini had a little bit of a recovery there, but it has since come back, and the dollar is still getting just obliterated. Well, the other problem with Cathie Woods is that she says some really crazy things. That's one of the things that I find really, really bizarre, is that there's like this cult following her, basically, that thinks that she's just an absolute genius. And a lot of these people, if they really knew the stuff that she was, some of them, they really knew the stuff that she's saying, especially when she starts talking about religious stuff. Maybe they would be all over it. Maybe they would like totally love her even more. But I think there's a lot of them that would be like, "Holy crap, Cathie! Like, you're flipping crazy. Like, why are you talking about that kind of stuff during, an official press conference event sort of thing?" So we'll see if she can float in water. like honestly, if it wasn't for Tesla, she'd have nothing, right? And then since then, it's just been the impact of her trades and everybody trying to follow them that have been doing well. But they're so over leveraged in those positions that when one of them falls apart, like if Tesla falls from grace, she's screwed, right? Because they just keep buying more. Like, it goes down and then they double down. So it would be an amazing thing to see if Tesla were to fall from grace. I don't know if it can actually happen, but I think probably at some point it will happen, but maybe not anytime soon. Maybe a few decades from now, Okay, so the E-mini opened there. There was a pretty good sell at one point, and the cumulative delta is a sell. But the price so far, treading water okay. Let's see what they do. I suppose I would be way more interested if the S&P 500 were to sell, but I'm not exactly sure if that's what's actually going to happen. How's our poll doing? After 12 votes, 58% of you say buy and 42% of you say sell. Well, so far, since the open is at 45.29, we can say that so far the sellers are winning, but hasn't moved very far, so that probably doesn't mean anything. I'm going to leave the poll, probably leave the poll open until the close of the stream. Oh, yeah, so you come back over here to Twitter, see if there's anything. I don't want to miss anything. And we don't have any other news today, right? Oh, we do. We have ISMs at the top of the hour. Oh, yes. Oh, my. Okay, hold on. Got to think about this. Market manufacturing PMI final 61.2 at the previous reading of 63.4. That number is probably more likely to miss. I don't know if people are trying to predict that that's what's going to happen, but E-mini certainly having more activity here on the open than usual because of the bearish tilt. So if they could turn it around, bears will get squeezed out. I don't know. Yeah. Well, I don't know how much of a squeeze you'll actually get, though. Like, don't get me wrong. I mean, since the 6:30 news, 6:15 news, it has been down, but it's not that big of a short. I still kind of get the impression that people are just scared of shorting the S&P 500. You know. The interest, well, not interestingly enough, but the biggest move, the most clear thing that I can see going on since that news is that the dollar has been getting weaker. The dollar has been getting much weaker. Oil, by the way, has also been getting weaker. That one is also pretty clear. S&P 500, it's been weak, but I would say though that there's a little bit, there's room for maybe it will turn around here, right? But then the thing that's interesting to me is gold. So gold took a little dip at around 7 o'clock. So they were higher, and then there was a dip, and all of those gains got wiped out, and now it's back out. So gold seems to be the most unclear. But you would think that gold should move up, right? Need to start trading E-minis? Well, I've traded the micros quite a bit, but my success with the micros was a little bit too mixed for my liking. I would have this, like I had this period where it was like for 3 months I couldn't lose. It was like I literally couldn't lose. And then all of a sudden, in one day I would just like totally blow it. It was just was a little, yeah. And I think part of it is just that because it's an index, there's a lot of noise over there. So gold is unreliable, that's for sure, man. You would know, right, AO? You say gold is dead or oil is dead. When you say dead, you mean like there's just not a lot of activity there, even though it's going down? Trade the full contract? Yeah, I wouldn't be honestly, with the size of the account that I'm trading right now, like even the micros kind of make me nervous sometimes. Like, if I do something dumb, I could blow it. I could blow the account in one day. And yes, like I've lost $500 on micros before, right? And it's a $1,500 account right now. Yeah, no moving on. Okay. It's kind of weird then, right? But maybe oil is just following the dollar correlation. Okay, the Canadian market PMI apparently was okay. There was no estimate for that one, but it was 57.2. If the US market numbers come in anything close to that, it's going to be like a real doozy. So what was your point stop? Oh, well, so in the E-mini, in the E-macro, I was usually taking, what was it? 16 tick stop loss. So like $20. But there was that one day, I don't remember what it was that I did, but I remember there was one day where I gave up $500 awfully quickly. And I was like, how the hell? I felt so bad about that. I was like, no, Seth, you sinned. Losing that much money is a sin. So how I felt. 4 points, yeah. Usually, if I put an order in right now, it would be 4 point target, 4 point stop. So I tried that for a while just to see like, okay, like how good of a, take do I actually get? And what I found was it was really streaky. Like I would win like 5 times in a row and then I would lose 5 times in a row. Whereas in the treasuries, lately it's been rare for me to lose more than 2 or 3 times in a row. And I'm able to be way more selective over here in the treasury. Like I feel like I'm very much picking up more signal in the treasury. Whereas in the E-minis, often I would see orders come in and I was just gambling and I really had no reason to think that it was going to go up or down. And probably during the periods where I was doing really well, it was mostly just because I was buying and the market was going up, Yeah. Well, I would say it's probably over leveraged, right? Like you're risking $20 on a $1,500 account. It's kind of, you're a little over leveraged there. If my data was glitchy when I opened my platform, then the issue resolved when I closed and opened it back up as a CPU platform problem or a connection problem? That's a good question. If it fixed when you restarted it, then, well, so here's a question. How long had it been open? How long had it been open? Because if it was something where like you've had it open since yesterday and it started to get glitchy, then maybe it is a platform. Maybe there's some sort of a memory leak or something like that. Well, the E-mini is not like cray or anything, but they continue to fall. No, he's using QTrader. But it sounded like it was had more to do with the his description there makes it sound like he's looking at the DOM and it's kind of glitchy how the data comes in. I mean, if you're having problems, the first thing that you should always try is restarting the application or restarting your computer and then seeing what happens. But at the same time, what you've been describing to me seems really unusual. So that doesn't sound like a standard problem. Yeah, so you restarted the application, resolved. This is weird. But it might be like a memory leak of some sort. I don't know. It would not with, you would think not with QTrader, right? I don't know. Tough call. Well, that's probably the best buy that they've given us in ES. Like that's probably the best looking bar this morning. The best looking buy bar I've seen this morning. Although when I come in and I do some of the metrics, that might just be they kind of reach the limits of stops for now. So that might just be that's actually I would even say likely to just be a little bit of mean reversion profit taking sort of behavior and not anything significant. Although it could turn into something significant. But I'm a little skeptical that we're going to have a really significant change in the trajectory of the S&P 500 before. Okay, so here comes the market manufacturing PMI. This one, I don't think. Oh, there's estimate is 61.2. Okay, and the release was 61.1. So slightly worse than expected. Then we'll get the ISM manufacturing PMI at the top of the hour, and that estimate is 58.6. But I'm stupid enough to use Wi-Fi. Well, Wi-Fi certainly doesn't help, because if you're using N, if it's a wireless N router, then it's going to be a lot better, but you often will get packet loss with Wi-Fi. Can be the issue there. Okay, so the E-mini's having a little bit of a not bad, let's say. Oh, you know what? Oh, I did not notice this. Okay, so even though gold has been kind of like, the move in gold has been a little sketchy, but silver is having a huge move right now. Do I not have that on my watch list? I guess I don't. The volume in silver is not actually all that unusual, but it's having a good run. It's up 1% today. That's one of the best gainers on the day. Actually, I think it is the best gainer on the day. Oh, well, now it's telling me that it has unusual volume. That's interesting. Those yields are coming back, and the E-mini is buying. Probably that market number helps. Just it being in line, I think, is kind of one thing where it's like, okay, well, bears, that was one spot where bears could have gotten it to go a little further for them, and it didn't. The market number tends to be way more influential. And there they are. Okay, so now they're above the open. Now they're above the open. YouTube Finance isn't convinced, huh? Wow, we got 10 minutes. And it looks like for now the treasuries have said that's far enough. Oops. I'm looking at this over here in the E-mini. So they're at the open. They haven't like, I'm not seeing like stops higher or anything like that. And I'm just kind of thinking, well, you know, if it fades and it turns back down below 45, 28 or so, probably the selling on the other side will probably be a lot more dramatic, right? But again, I don't see a reason for it to move before the market number, so. Looks like a draw. I don't know. They can fight it out. Like the yields came back down at 16.5. Which is a little bit larger in order there at 16. We didn't get to 24 in ZB, did we? It's kind of looking at that. I was like, well, with the move in 16 is so close, so you're definitely going to see something at 16. Isn't it interesting that that's the point of control there now? They really like 16. You gotta realize that 16 is like the equivalent of like 4,550 in the S&P 500, right? It's halfway there. Okay, the E-mini has fallen there. Should I try a sim order here? I'll try a sim order over here. Yeah, okay. Okay. This puts a lot of pressure on that ISM manufacturing PMI. Estimate 58.5. If that number like disappoints, then this thing is going to crater the S&P. Oh yeah, if that number is bad, I think you probably could outright short the ES. It'll probably move really quickly though when it happens, and we should probably expect to see some liquidity pulling here. You know, a minute before the news. Well, I tried taking the short there. It's not working out so far, is it? In fact, they're back above the open. Do you think PMI? I think that there's a slightly higher probability of it disappointing, yes. But just because the PMIs from other countries have been disappointing, particularly China. Yeah, don't forget Chinese PMI was 49.2 versus 50.1. Exactly. Silver continues. Now they're up 1.29%. You say you're going to short the E-mini? Well, hey, look, they didn't stop me out. Looks like we're just going to be in for some chop until the number comes out, huh? Tenure kind of maybe wants to move up, but there's too much liquidity. AO says you don't mind taking a 4-point loss. Okay. It definitely seems like worth a shot. I would very much prefer if I got my first order filled, though, before it happens. Almost. I got time. The yields aren't coming back, though. You know, I kind of hate pointing over here at the treasuries and saying yields when this is price and everything, but like it's so much easier to say yields. Yes, thank you. Okay, this might end up being an amazing short. Still that iceberg at 16.5. Okay, well, they cleared it. But not catching bids yet. Okay, what was the number again? 58.5, right? 58.5, 58. Depends on your news source. 58.5. Oil dropped $1. I am a little concerned that oil is falling too here, right? And also, it's why is it that silver is taking off but gold isn't? Okay, I am seeing some liquidity pulling. It's not all of it. It's only like the first 4 bids. Oh, and they took it down at 16. Okay. That's because silver is a meme, maybe. Yeah, that's really pulling. Okay, so slightly higher than expected. So I guess I will just take profits on this and well, it was worth a good shot. I'm a little disappointed, but that's okay. 59 spot 9 versus the expected 58 spot 5. Oh, I should have had this open. It would have made the sound. This buy, yeah. Well, and that's it. Oh no, we have oil stuff today too. Yeah, that trade that I did in the micro, not a very good trade because I could have made 19 on it and I lost 4. So remember this year what happened to yeah, I do remember what happened earlier. So let's check. I'm interested to see. So yesterday we were looking at gold, GOLD, which was a miner. And we were interested in it because they mine a lot of copper too. And the market seems pretty bullish on copper. But copper took a pretty good hit last night. So it was based mostly on the news NASDAQ trader. The one that didn't work out. Like I saw the ADP, decided to go short rates. I got a pretty good excursion. Didn't quite get to 20 where I would have taken it off. Probably should have taken it off when it was coming back. Like for it to have come all the way back for the news was very disappointing. And I probably could have held on there. Because what did I get out at? 1.7? Yeah, I could have held in. I would have a little bit of profit right now. Okay, so gold is probably going to be down, right? Oh, it's only a tiny bit. Only down spot 2 to 20.03. Oh, and that's basically where it was yesterday. Interestingly enough, though, it's doing better than Freeport McMoran. So maybe the combination of gold and copper is really good. Probably my own portfolio. I don't want to show you guys my own portfolio, but it's probably getting creamed today, right? It's not bad. It's not bad. I would have thought that because I am pretty tied into interest rates, but I think I have myself pretty hedged against it pretty good. So I'm happy about that. But dude, you picked the exact top. That's cool. Well, yeah, they just squeezed me out, didn't they? That sucks. I should have tried to hold through it. Nah, I don't think so though, because the news was good. So why should the yields continue to do terrible? Like if anything, we should try buying it here, right? So what happened was a bunch of selling came through, and then they left a huge hole behind them, and now they're filling in the hole. Right? So not actually volume on there. The volume was short. You could see people stopping out up there, but makes it complicated. Now the split side of that is I only last 4 ticks, so that's okay. That's an acceptable mistake to make. And we did pretty good with our short in the ES. That was mostly luck though. But I'm happy with how I managed it, that I was able to pull out a really good profit before the news came, so that I could take the shot on it going, right? I wish that on my original trade that I had taken it with 2 contracts. Then I could have taken off one of the contracts, and no matter what, it would have been a profit, right? Oh, you're saying you picked the exact... I didn't pick the exact top. It was coming back a little bit when I took it. See, I took it, if I come over here to the ES, I took it right here at 29, so it was coming back a little bit, and then it came back in my face for a little, and I just held on, and then it went down. So that it did that before the news, I think, was mostly luck. Luck, okay, but cool. I'm kind of wondering here in the treasury now, because there is some volume going in there at 15.5, right? Like, it kind of seems to me that the yield bears, if we would say, the people buying the treasuries don't seem to be too deterred by that piece of news, do they? It seems like that they care more about the jobs number, which I think should be in line. Well, let's come back, because there's a couple of numbers that were in there. Maybe I didn't look at them all closely enough. So the PMI was 59.9. The spending was good at spot 3 versus spot 2, but manufacturing prices were bad at 79 spot 4. Okay. So that does blunt the impact of that one a little bit, doesn't it? High volume was selling, yeah. Well, this movement that we've seen just most recently, I'm still kind of like, well, the liquidity is poor. So I don't know if I really want to go long yields here or not. It seems like we probably could make a trade there. Look, there's still buy volume coming in. Yeah. If I had money, I would be the first to buy a bionic body. My own body is producing too much pain from... Oh. Now, having a good chair, even if you have a good chair, you gotta stand up from time to time, huh? Well, I did execute on my plan, right? I wanted to catch some profit, try and hold it through the ISMs on the bet that they were going to be bad. They weren't, so I got out. Now I didn't plan beyond that. I'm a little bit paranoid now because I'm looking at this and I'm like, wow, this seems like some opportunity here. Yeah. Like, I'm really seriously thinking about hitting those two orders at 30.09. Or one spot 309. Oh, it looks like somebody traded him. Somebody traded with him. ES hasn't made it through the opening, so you're right. Well, one of the things that we should remember is that the buy the dip kind of behavior that we've been getting in the S&P 500 often doesn't come until after the European close. Right? It goes all the way back down there and breaks the low of the day. I'm going to be so mad. I'm not going to be so mad, but that's really disappointing if that's what happens. Now the yields might be coming down here because even though the manufacturing numbers were good, the S&P 500 continues to struggle here, don't they? It's kind of a situation where like we're seeing movement. I don't see anything unusual in the order flow right now. Like what I'm seeing right now, I think is especially in the treasury, is mostly just the impact of the liquidity was low because of the news. So I don't know if we can really pull a lot of signal out of it anymore. But I do see that the yields are pretty low, and then they might come back fairly easily. I suppose it depends on how bullish the S&P 500 decides to become. Need to see some... now that's interesting, because the 6J didn't really bounce back like the treasury is. The Dow is negative. Well, how's our silver doing? Silver gave back some of its gains. It's now only up 1%. Ethereum looking good today. Don't follow your intuition. Well, like I was right now, I don't really want to explain it, actually, to be honest. I probably shouldn't be doing anything. The yields came up there a little bit, so I'm like, well, if I wanted to buy it, I probably missed it. The AC turned on. It feels good. We got a whole hour. It's probably going to continue moving. Just which direction is who knows. Let's see if Zero Hedge has anything about all this that might help us. Wow, Fidelity set to hire 9,000 more employees. Woo. Yeah, they have something about the ADP. It's worth noting that ADP has underguessed non-farms payrolls in 5 of the last 7 months, and remember that Fed Governor Christopher Waller recently said the U.S. Central Bank could start to reduce its support for the economy by October if the next 2 months' jobs reports show employment rising by 800,000 to 1 million, as he expects, adding that there's no reason to go slow on tapering the Fed's bond purchase program. So if today's ADP print is anything to go by, and if for once the ADP is predictive of what this Friday's payrolls will reveal, then we may have a major taper problem as inflation soars, yet as the job market suddenly crumbles, leading to the dreaded stagflation. Says Zero Edge, who has me blocked on Twitter. Screw you guys. All right, anyways. The ES chart looks so ugly. The ES chart always looks ugly though, man. The 5-minute chart though is, I look at the 5-minute. Okay, so when I come into this, my little inventory cost basis indicator that I've got here, and like every 5-minute bar is touching both the buy and the sell. That's action that I want to be involved in. Yeah. I really wish that I had felt more confident when we were at like 30.5. Like it's I could maybe try a limit order there and see what happens, but you know, it is bad. But I'm just trying to put some caution on it that like that doesn't necessarily mean anything. There was a guy I saw on Instagram and he had so many indicators. I wonder to myself, how can he, yeah. I've seen a lot of that. Thank you. So I think that the macro call that people are trying to make here right now in the Treasury is ADP hasn't been very effective at predicting the jobs number. Therefore, they probably still think that the jobs number is going to be close to the consensus expectation of 750,000 or whatever it is. And that even if it was, it would need to be significantly bad for the Fed to roll, pull back on the taper, right? And then the manufacturing data coming in a little bit better than expected. And I would say like a 59 is pretty good. That, they want to get back into rates are probably going to rise a little bit. And spot 3 was like a critical area in the last contract. So that even after all of that, we're still higher than that. I think kind of speaks to that, just that the expectation is still that they're going to taper in November, even after all of that data and the data that was bad. So if so, I think you could see the treasuries come back, and you've got a pretty crazy. So like come over here to these charts and look at the 3 charts on the bottom. Okay. The net cumulative delta after all of this is negative on all of them, but especially in the 10-year, which suggests rates are going to rise. He's hindsighting, explaining the past with whatever you have at hand. You don't need your brain at all to predict anything happens unconsciously because brains are lazy. Well, yeah. So again, I come back to why do retail traders insist on using things that from everything that we can see isn't very effective, right? Like just every piece of data that we have, I think, says that it's not very effective. But maybe I think that my leading theory is that they don't know anything else. From their perspective, if I'm going to make money from trading, the only option that I have is for looking at that chart and finding something in that chart. Like, from that retail trader's perspective, especially somebody that's doing stocks, what other choice do you actually have? Right? They can't get past, because the price is the thing that ultimately decides whether or not you make money. It's not the informational component. It's the result of a bunch of other stuff. And if you don't look at the other stuff, you can't actually see what's going on. Here, I think we can kind of see what's going on, but I'm looking at orders for one, and two, like I understand the news and the context, right? He has tens of thousands of followers, I bet. You come in and you tell them, oh, technical analysis doesn't work very well. I don't think that they tend to like that. Like, I've made some videos on TikTok that have done pretty well, but that's like you get 15,000 views and maybe a few hundred followers from it. But these guys, to get into the tens of thousands of followers, the only way that you do that, I think, is you come out and you say, X thing is going to take off. You know, You tell them something positive about the investment that they're in already, you know? Like you come in and you say, here's the bullish case for GameStop, and I think tomorrow it's going to do really, really well. You'll get followers. It's like you have to lead the cult. Sells signals as there's a reason why Seth doesn't have any. Thanks, Nasdaq trader. Thanks, Salim. I really think when I look at my content, I've said this a few times, but I don't think that I've stressed it enough. When I look at my content, I think that my content is very informative, and I think that I have very good content, but I do not think that I have entertaining or engaging content. And I think ultimately that's my problem. YouTube can tell that, you know, it's a little bit of a struggle to go through my videos. Like, you stick with it because you know that the information is valuable, but it's not super entertaining and easy to watch or follow. And I have to figure out how to make my videos more engaging and effective. More engaging and entertaining is really what it comes down to. And maybe that just means make some videos that are really primarily about being entertaining and engaging. I don't know. It's engaging when you talk politics. I feel like that's what separates you from the others, really. That's interesting. Well, you know, some of my political videos that I've made on this channel were some of my best performing videos, but it was kind of like a limited effectiveness, right? You don't gain very many followers. You don't get any long term. You'll get like a short term bump in views, but it doesn't really have a lasting impact. Yeah. Especially since news politics can play such a role in trading. It sure hasn't felt like that the last 9 months, but it is still in there kind of lurking around, isn't it? That's another one that's really weird to me, is like a lot of retail traders seem to want to believe that stuff doesn't matter. And I don't even think that they're saying that, like, it shouldn't matter. You know, I'm confident that it doesn't matter. Or I think it's more like, I don't want to pay attention to that stuff. You know what I mean? But maybe there was the one person I think that would come in and say that about a lot. And I think it was the same person coming in over and over again, trying to convince me to not talk about politics. No, I got a good tick down. That the liquidity kind of changed there at 15.5. That's probably going to take a little bit more for us to get back to like the open price, though. All right, so it did tick back up there in the 10. So this one right here in the 10-year in ZN, that's actually one where I would try and take a tick out if there wasn't that big iceberg at 15. Well, not big iceberg, that big order at 15. Because look, it ticked up and the others two didn't. Now they're equal. Maybe you could try to get the fill at 16 and 15.5, but okay, so there's oil. Let's see what oil does. Looks like they're buying it back in oil. Making that much money as a trader puts in the position of a competitor who is getting their contracts filled first, which nullifies altruistic reasons why you should share your edge. I think that there's some reasons other than altruism to help other traders. You don't necessarily want your edges to be like a widespread public. Certainly not, and certainly not like your exact entry conditions, but like some general principles, there's some benefit. Like think about it. It is so hard to develop edge. I mean, trading is just so difficult, and it's really something that you're not going to be very successful on your own. It requires the brain power of more than one person. But if every other person out there is following nonsense, then you can't get any help, right? So that's why it's kind of in our interest, I think, to share with the world this information that we have that suggests that price is mostly just noise and that the actual information content is being hidden. So that you get more retail traders out there thinking about it, and they can eventually come back and help you. And honestly, and here's another thing, I used to think, the market maker, he wants to screw you over. He doesn't want you to know what's going on. He wants to trick you. He wants to that's how he makes his money, is by screwing you over. But since learning more about how these market making algorithms work and everything else, I don't think that the market maker cares how you trade or how good you are or anything like that. As long as they can pull their orders when there's informed trading coming through, they should make money. And so even for them, it's still kind of like more of a personal battle. That's kind of a weird thing. It's like would be a good example. It's like weightlifting. It's like weightlifting, man. Because weightlifting is a competitive sport. Like whoever lifts the highest amount of weight, it wins. Well, the combined total. There's two lifts, and your combined total, and that's how they determine the winner. But it's not direct competition, because it's not like you go and there's things that you can do that will really dramatically affect the other. I mean, there are some things like you can change your weights in a way that might reduce your opponent's rest time and increase your rest time. But other than that, it's more of a competition with yourself, right? It really, being good at weightlifting just means focusing and lifting as much as you can. And for trading, that it ends up being that too, even though it's also competitive. This is kind of an odd thing, isn't it? They're still having some trouble there, huh? Like it looks, I think that they want to fall down more, but it's just not happening. By the way, have they gotten any more comments on the not much. When I think Win is watching the interview though. See, they're not holding bids at 16, but they're having a very difficult time getting any kind of offers to come up at 15.5. They've cleared the bids at 15.5, but they haven't been able to get offers there. The ZB is down 2 ticks. So like, see, there's these two have done it. But then the 10-year is reluctant. Is joining a weightlifting club / team like that a good way to meet people? I just moved to Austin and I'm trying to find ways of meeting people, and I've been thinking of doing sort of power. So for Olympic weightlifting, I would say yes, but it is very difficult to actually find a club like that. Like your next best option is join the CrossFit cult. But like, if you join the CrossFit cult, I guarantee you make some friends. But yes, like with the gym that I go to, you know, it's like a dozen lifters or so. It's like, you know, everybody by name, you know how much they tend to lift, and you know everything about them, man. It's like pretty close family sort of stuff. And especially since you're like together kind of like doing battle, because man, when you get into those heavy weights, that's what it turns into. Yeah, you get to know them really, really well. CrossFit is disgusting. Yeah. Well, the reason I say that though is that CrossFit tried to take some of the things that they do in Olympic gyms that make the teams so close, and they applied some of those principles to CrossFit. So you see, look, so they're able to take an offer, but you're not getting very many offers to stack. Even though the 5-year looks like it's going to take another clip out. It might happen as the 5-year might just tick down and force them, and there might be a big collision at 15. That would make sense, because if I was taking a scalp on like a short-term mean reversion trade from up here, I would be taking it off at 15.5 or 15. Some of the CrossFit training principles aren't bad, but the people they tend to attract to be, you know, okay, so I don't understand this, to be honest with you, YouTube Finance. There seems to be this idea about what kind of a person tends to do CrossFit. Particularly, people seem to think that there's a certain political bent to it or something like that. And that does not match up with my own experience at CrossFit gyms at all. The only unifying factor that I see is that you get people that want to be fit and aren't afraid of doing crazy fitness things. I believe in information sharing, you guess we're different. If I knew someone has traded the same instrument, I would share the fastest information on the planet. It would never help. I would never help. Well, this one's saying, I'm saying there are certain things where it might benefit you to help, right? It doesn't benefit me to tell you the exact entry conditions that I might use or look for, or where I'm planning on taking trades. But where I think the thing that does benefit me is teaching people that price doesn't have much, if at all, informational content that can predict the future. That does seem, I've gained lots of benefit. There's lots of things that I've learned that I would not have learned if I had not developed this community and people were looking for those things and they find them and then they come back and they show me. There are respectable gyms, but there are also large groups that work out in parking lots near Starbucks, and they do it just to beg for attention, and the people that do that don't really have good bodies. Oh, really? So that's another thing, is it's, I tell you what, with both CrossFit and weightlifting, very, very few people I've come across in the sport that didn't look good. And the few that came in that didn't look good in the beginning, they didn't stay that way for very long. It's definitely effective at getting you in shape, that's for sure. We have this one girl at our gym. She could be a potential Olympian, and she's big. And you might see a picture of her and might be like, wow, she's like huge, but she has trimmed down so much. That girl is just built like a freaking tank, man. It's super impressive. She could really strongly think she stands a good chance of becoming an Olympian. And yeah, it's been really crazy to watch her coming into the gym first time and kind of transform. How much can you bench? I don't know, man. I'm really not sure. I'm pretty sure that when I was benching before I did Olympic weightlifting, that I had gotten to my body weight, which was probably around 150 pounds or 160. So I'm gonna go with that answer. But if it was like, how much could I lift today? Probably not very much. Probably just like probably just 20s. Basically one set of plates. How does one get TradeStation editor? Oh, I don't know. I didn't know that was a thing. By the way, somebody asked me earlier if it was better to go to TT or CQG, and I was gonna, I've never really used either of them, but TT is generally considered to be top of the line in the industry. That was at the beginning. I feel bad about forgetting. I think that was AO asked that. Okay, so 15 still. Oh, okay. 15.5 was where they were having trouble, right? So that's not bad. I'll reset these ones. That was you. Yeah. I've like loaded them both up and looked at them, but I haven't like actively traded with either of them. But generally speaking, TT is considered to be the best, nicest platform, and you pay up for it basically. Whereas like CQG and Rhythmic, their platforms, I mean, the data is just like industry standard, but the applications themselves, I kind of consider them to be like, they put something together that works really well with their data to show, so that you can get through, but they're not the most feature rich. Put them side to side at the open, the TT. I've done that once, but I don't think that I'd be able to get the data to do that again. Only get to do the free trial for once for live data. I need to find out so I can monitor my trades when I am not on my desktop. Well, what are you using right now, AO? So I tried, so with CQG, you can use the phone application, right? I tried doing that, and it told me that I was not authorized for it. So it's probably the same issue. Yeah, Jigsaw. Yeah, so you probably have the same issue that I have, which is if you want to use CQG mobile, you probably have to ask your broker to add it to you, and you might have to pay a monthly fee for it. Because it's like they don't enable it for you to use anything other than Jigsaw, so it's really annoying. Or well, for me, it doesn't enable me to use anything other than NinjaTrader. Oh, no, wait, I can connect Jigsaw to it directly, too, I think. I don't recall. But yeah, when I tried to use CQG, I'm on NinjaTrader brokerage. When I tried to use CQG, that mobile, it wouldn't let me. Does TT bundle their data to limit? I don't know. I don't know how they do that. That's not a problem. Well, if like money is no issue to you, then why you should try TT? I don't know how good their mobile application is, but like if you pay for their expensive package, which is like $100 a month, then you get auto spreader, man. Come on. Auto spreader, micro treasury yields, that'd be awesome. But probably you can try them both on demo. I mean, if you're you bought the Jigsaw license. Well, Jigsaw pairs together with TT. I don't know how you do it with CQG, but I think there's a way to do a CQG trader too. I don't know. I feel you, because I would like to be able to monitor my trades on my phone and stuff, but I kind of just came to the conclusion that like if I'm going to be in a swing trade and I'm really concerned about it, then I need to just be there. Otherwise, I just need to put the stops and targets in there and let it do its thing. I tell you what, Jigsaw is like testing new features that I think are supposed to be coming out soon. And I was not added to the test group. maybe Peter doesn't like me anymore. I don't know, but I'm really excited to see what they changed. I want to see what their new tools are. So I have some suspicions about what they might be, and I if my suspicions are correct, it'd be things that would really make a difference for me. I have ADHD, so I like micromanaging my trades. But this is exactly the I have ADHD. That's where I get myself into trouble for sure, man. I do so much better when I come in and I say, well, there's no real reason for it to move. I should just ignore what it's saying. Because if I start watching it, I will somehow find an excuse to put a trade in that makes no sense, like especially in the E-mini. Like in the E-mini, every tiny little move seems like, oh yeah, like that's a buy. That's, it kills you. The ADHD definitely, it's so weird. Like it makes you want to trade, but it absolutely makes it harder for you to be successful at trading. I don't think that I would be very good at trading at all without medication. In fact, I've tested that before, and if I'm like off my medication, I trade terrible. $28 to $30? Maybe. Seems like price is resisting an outright fall because it's just longs from the bottom selling to take profit. In case this is the top, while shorts from the bottom are taking the opportunity to cover. Yeah. No, I think you're totally right. Like you can see that the liquidity here. Like I think that the fundamentals and the future flow and the current flow are all in line with the treasuries continuing to fall, but the liquidity is not giving up. We have not seen the treasuries this thick or like absorbing as much. Over the last few months, it's always been like it just moves on very little volume and it only takes a few hundred for it to tick through on stuff. And now we're getting like more like traditional treasury action. And it kind of makes you question yourself, doesn't it? It kind of makes you question, but I think it should be okay. Like, we just you just have to rely on the future orders. So they're going to be enough to overcome that liquidity. And I certainly think that they are, even if they're going to be absorbing 5K to each price. ABC 123 trader, is that weed? No. I do take Adderall though. I'm on this medication that's like what is it called? Norepinephrine reuptake inhibitor. And that helps. That's so much more effective than anything else I've tried with ADHD. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Adderall. I don't like the way Adderall makes me feel. Like if I get enough Adderall that it's actually getting rid of all of my symptoms, I feel tense and nervous and anxious. I don't like it. I only give myself just a teeny tiny bit of Adderall to keep the motivation factors. Otherwise, I don't get any work done. Otherwise, you just end up hyper focusing on something that's not important and you don't get any work done. Because the atomoxetine is what it's called. The reuptake inhibitor is enough for the being able to focus part. At least I can get things done. I can't like laser in like I do when I'm trading. Mine is tequila. If it's a bad day, 3 shots. Let's see here. Because post-Powell, it's going to be midterm stable until past expiry, and we just had big ups. It might not go up much, but there is enough chance over the next couple of weeks that they want out. Yeah. Well, I think it's really telling. Last week, especially going into the end of the week, it kind of really did start to seem like, well, wow, maybe because they're seeing some economic weakness, they really are going to keep the interest rates low. But this week, you've seen now, even though we get some bad news and the treasuries definitely, absolutely move on that bad news, it seems like the market is starting to accept that the taper is going to happen and that rates are going to have to rise. And, you know, to that, I don't know how to say your name. Bad news is good on the next 3 to 6 months. Yeah. So he says bingo, and I wasn't sure exactly what it was that I was saying there that is like bingo. But I've decided now that when I don't understand what you guys are saying in chat, I'm just going to pretend that you said what I wanted you to say. So I'm going to take that as, yes, you absolutely agreed with everything that I just said there. Reflect tone, yeah. Anyways, I think that the treasury is a really interesting trade right now, don't you? I mean, that doesn't mean that I really feel really confident about which way it's going to go. I am positioned for rising rates. Like in my stock portfolio is positioned for rising rates, with a little bit of hedging on it. And because I've kind of hedged my bets in the banks with bets in gold. Well, and it's silver actually. And then, you know, some other ones that basically with the way that I am right now, what I make or lose when the interest rates change should be offset. And so what I should make should just be based on the companies are good. Oh, it's reflected tone backwards. How did I not see? Have you told me that before? Because you've been around for a long time. I mean, you don't post every day, but you've been around for years, haven't you? I never realized that. Maybe you told me that before. Oh man. See, it's a meta name. That's so cool. See, I'm not as clever enough to come up with names like that. You know what? It's so funny. Is like, well, I remember I was like in John Bottomley's room at the time and talking to him a lot, and I was thinking, you know, because I've tried doing like social media stuff. Like I really enjoy social media. Is really what it comes down to. Before this, I did like gaming sort of stuff, and I had some success with it. But the games that I liked just didn't really pick up with the community, you know. So I had always been researching stuff for like marketings and stuff, because it always seemed like what I wanted to do was like make a really cool website and then, you know, make it popular. And so I was interested in how do you market your website and get people interested in stuff like that, right? So I was all about the branding, and I was like, one day it came to me, it's like, Speculator Seth. That's the perfect brand for doing day trading. But you know what? I think it actually ended up being a poor name to use, because speculator is too hard to say, and a lot of people, when they read it, they can't read the word speculator for some reason. Like they think it says spectacular at first. If I could go back, I would probably change it. I don't know what I would change it to. I like the name Speculator Seth. I really, really like it. So, I don't know. Maybe it doesn't matter anyways. Like, it's funny to me that one of the top guys in the financial space is Meet Kevin. Like, okay. Have a good day. Hey, thank you, AO. RJ Will says, I quickly realized that mistake, and it's so annoying. It's so annoying to me when I'm on like Twitch and I'm watching somebody and I want to like interact with the streamer and they're like spectacular Seth. Oh man, I hate that. I just want to be loved. No. You know what? The thing that I think is fun is like, I like your channel because it's very chill. I have this sense that you aren't putting out a hard line. You're always open to being wrong, and your attitude here is very we'll see. Well, yeah, because you can only be wrong so many times before you sit down and you be like, you know, the chances that I'm right or wrong about something is really, really high. And not only that, but like think about the things that I've been sharing with you guys over the last like 2 months or so. I think pretty advanced concepts. If you had shown me these studies and this information 4 years ago, I would not have understood it. It would not, the puzzle pieces wouldn't have come together for me, you know? Like, I just, you have to realize, like, it's a really complicated stuff. It takes a really long time to really understand. And so, when I look back at the things that you guys say, like every time that you guys say something, one of the big things that's going through my head is, well, I might disagree with them, but they might be sharing with me something really profound, and I just don't realize or see it. Because that's happened. Like, people have said things like that to me, and I didn't. And then later on, I was like, oh, wow, that they were actually sharing with me something really important, you know? Like, I remember somebody telling me that, you know, the problem is that everybody focuses on price. Thought like that did not really, it didn't really hit me the way that it should. But now I understand it, and I hope that I'm able to give you guys, explain it in a way that really makes sense and makes you realize how profound it is. That the informational content isn't the price, it's the orders. And the price that you get from the orders has a lot of noise added on top of it because of how orders interact with liquidity and stuff. So you can't really do an analysis on the price and really get anything out of it. It's too noisy. Randy, I finished watching the Gary interview. It was awesome. Thank you. I think that I could become a better interviewer. But Gary said so much good stuff. And for 2.5 hours, like really think about that. 2.5 hours of just dense, good trading advice. It was a good video. What drives me crazy was I was on a 60-day winning streak and then crept to bed. Well, I do that all the time at ABC. But you know, I think that, well, one of the issues on that one, the thing that you got to be careful about that one, is that we like to blame ourselves. For me, I can definitely go back and look at it and be like, well, I broke this rule and why was I thinking that? Like, usually when that happens to me, I am not thinking straight, and my analysis is just like really bad. Okay, so that's something that comes with experience. But some people end up trading strategies that put them in that position. Like they're trading strategies with fat tails and stuff. So you could be careful about that. Make sure that's why it's really important to backtest your strategies, I think, because then you can kind of see those things that you don't really get until you've done it over a really long data set. Anyways, I gotta get going, guys. So I will see you tomorrow. Good day today. I'm super excited. Make sure you watch the video here. I'll put it in the comments here again if you didn't see it. And it should forward you to it. So if you just don't do anything, it will forward you to the Gary Norton video. So see you guys tomorrow. Stay